The movie begins with a mundane scene. A voice without emotion is heard over a loudspeaker as office workers exit a building. It encourages citizens to take their balance pills and stay away from illegal drugs that may be harmful. This civic responsibility will help the society to rise above chaos faster, the voice says. Among the crowd is a pensive woman. She looks for an empty seat on a bench, sits down among the others and gazes around. She writes out the word black shoes in Sylvia Plath's book. Her eyes then spot something strange. Everyone around her, except for her, is wearing identical footwear, chunky-heeled black shoes. Later, in a taxi, the woman keeps watching the people outside and sees another man wearing the same kind of shoes. She arrives at her destination and gets out of the cab, and her heel snaps off. The sky is starting to get dark as she walks through the city. A tornado is being formed in the distance. She desperately tries to find shelter and runs to the nearest cafe, but before going in, she decides to take off her broken shoes, but a member of staff stops her. Shoes must be worn to enter. In the house, she tells the people that there is a tornado coming, but no one believes her. They have no idea of thinking on their own, and they are not concerned about her, saying that there is no official warning. As it starts to rain heavily, they still don't believe it. When Denise returns home, she sees a piece of glass on the ground. She puts it to her wrist in despair, but her neighbor Anton interrupts her. Calmly, he shares the news of his promotion. Denise asks him if he ever thinks about what he's doing. They see a man who is homeless near them. Anton thinks that the man must have lost his mind after the war and tells Denise to ignore him, but Denise watches as Wes looks to the sky and points up. She follows his eyes and catches a glimpse of something she can't imagine. 2 moons in the sky. She is worried and runs to the bank to inform her friend Patrick. She believes it's a sign that maybe finally something is about to change for the better. However, as they are leaving the building, a citywide announcement is made, urging people to complain about anyone who breaks the rules. The government will support them to conform and adapt, it promises. The sky is getting cloudy and Patrick wonders if the 2 moons are not a good omen. Lying in bed, Denise is jolted awake by an earthquake. Standing next to her are Xania and her friend, both glaring at her with contempt. Later, Xania asks rent, without caring that Denise is unemployed and doesn't fill up much space. Trying to change the subject, Denise asks them what they think about the earthquake and the 2 moons in the sky, but they just scoff and walk away without answering. In the meantime, Lieutenant Daniel Winthrop comes into a bar with a colleague. They are there to talk about an article by a scientist. The scientist is pressured by a government official to withdraw his work, who will offer him a high-ranking government position if he does. He wants the truth and he thinks that others should too. Daniel says that the system is order, control, and predictability, and that the only way forward is to believe in the government. The scientist is pushed to the limit by his words. The following day, Denise and Patrick see a bunch of guys come together to assist Wes in getting his job at a cafe. Curious, Denise approaches them to say hello and chat. One of the men notices Patrick standing nearby and comments on his unusual appearance. People are not willing to hire Patrick because of his appearance, Denise confesses. Even though he's a great worker, he did manage to get a job at a bank, but they put his desk down near the basement. Later, Tom tells Denise that he and Andre are running away from the war. Now that they've reached a neutral country, he plans to stay. Andre also shares that his father was a soldier and he's thinking about joining the military himself. On the way to work, Patrick is rude to Denise about her life and tells her to think about changing. He says that if she continues on this trajectory, it's not going to work out. A group of guys is talking about their future plans in the bar. A young woman joins them, complaining about the lack of service at another cafe. Suddenly Denise enters and requests the bartender to switch on the news. While watching the broadcast, it is evident that the government is trying its best to persuade the people that the 2 moons are just a mirage. Denise starts to search for a job, but in an interview she starts talking about poetry and literature, which obviously irks the interviewer. Then, she sees the woman's shoes, simple black pumps, and all of a sudden, it all comes together. Suddenly, a gunshot is heard. Denise runs out and witnesses a woman being shot to death by a police officer for stealing. No trial, no questions, just instant execution. Shocked by what she's just witnessed, Denise looks down and sees the officer is wearing the exact same kind of black shoes. Fear creeps in. Quietly, she slips away. Later, Denise meets up with Tom again. She tells him about the woman who was killed for stealing, and the 2 moons in the sky which no one seems to notice. Tom is calm and reflective, saying it all reminds him of the Renaissance when people first realized that the Earth was not the center of the universe and had to change their thinking. After a pause, Denise asks him about the rumors of a coming war. Tom confirms them. It's bound to happen. It's a distraction. It's something that keeps people from looking up, but it could be a positive sign. He says that the 2 moons could be a good sign. For him, There are warning people to get up and make things change. His words and his optimism move Denise. In the meantime, the professor strolls in the park. He is leaning against a tree when he sees his student, Diana. She confesses she hasn't been feeling well lately and has started taking the balance pills. The professor tries to tell her not to, but when he sees her black shoes, he suddenly decides to leave quickly. When Denise gets home, she runs into Xenia. Xenia bluntly tells her she needs to move out immediately. Her boyfriend Kim and a VIP guest named Phoebe are moving in. Denise pleads for a little more time until she receives her unemployment benefits, but Xenia won't budge. She scolds Denise for not taking the balance pills like everyone else and not following the rules, in a cold and disapproving manner. After delivering her little speech, Xenia heads off to pick up Phoebe from the airport. Denise looks at her computer screen and reads a breaking news article. A full-scale war has just started. Xenia proudly displays her newest piece of art at the art show and introduces her new friend and philanthropist, Phoebe. She then asks Adrian to read one of his latest poems. However, before he can get far, two clowns, Bruce and Beat, the Jokers, interrupt him with antics. Xenia is angry and ejects them from the event. Later, Denise approaches her. She sternly reminds Xenia that an eviction must be done with at least 1 month's notice. But before Xenia can react, Kim's sister Zeeble strolls up and tells Xenia that Kim has been drafted. Despite this, there is no change. Denise still doesn't have any space. She has already had her possessions thrown in the corner of the gallery. Once a bracelet given to her by Xenia, Denise throws it on the floor and storms out. She is desperate for help, so she seeks it from Patrick, but he seems reluctant to help her. He claims he is trying to make a good name for himself, and she is making it difficult. However, he succumbs to her pressure and agrees to let her stay on one condition. She can't criticize Bruce and beat his landlords. While sitting in their home watching TV, Patrick and Denise notice the ground shaking again. They're a bit frightened, but they try to pretend everything is okay. Later, Bruce sees that his cola is missing and blames Denise for stealing it. She is hurt by his words and throws a book at him and walks out of the house. She is homeless again and tries to find Tom and tells him how she feels. She cannot live in this system. She cannot follow these rules. She seems to be hitting her head against a wall all the time. Later, at the house, Andre tells her that Tom had once helped people to escape from the war. Tom had a girlfriend at the time, but they couldn't get along and ended up splitting up. He was in a lot of pain. Andre isn't going to tell her more, but if Tom wants to, he will tell her himself. Suddenly, the earthquake starts again. The house rattles, the roof tiles come off and the walls crack. Denise is terrified. She knows that something is amiss. Earthquakes should not occur here. Andre and West, who has just arrived, try to calm her down. West has a weird dream that he had immediately after his father passed away. In the dream, it was morning, but there was no sun in the sky. His father did not seem to notice and prepared for work as usual, which was really puzzling to Andre. Later, Denise awakens to find Tom with his head in his hands in the next room. She's unsure if she should approach him, so she pretends not to notice and goes back to bed. The men turn on the TV and the sound of a news report wakes Denise. She runs to join them. The broadcast depicts a young man named Davy, who is afraid to fight in the war. After a moment, Andre says that he's nothing like that kid. Like his father, he is not afraid of anything. Later, Denise discovers that being kicked out of the house was a major trauma for Tom, and that she knows this more than anyone else. She experienced eviction herself, but it makes her mad that being homeless doesn't make her a refugee. Andre tells her not to defend herself. He's been traveling around his whole life. Denise goes outside to find Tom and learns what he did before the war. He tells her about his past occupation of fixing computers and his ex-girlfriend, who was a nurse at the hospital where he had been wounded. He was very fond of her and wanted to take her to a neutral country. He also has a plan. He would like to write a book by using a series of poems. He wants to reach people and change the world, but Denise says it's wishful thinking. Following their discussion, she doesn't know what to do, and she walks away. Sitting on her suitcases outside, she runs into Bruce. He says he will sue her for throwing a book at him. Denise doesn't understand why he's so hostile. She didn't do anything wrong. Sensing her confusion, Bruce starts pressuring her, pointing out all her mistakes. She makes all the wrong moves. She refuses the government's medication, has no job or home, and won't follow the rules. Then suddenly West jumps in to defend Denise, distracting the men so she can run away. After some time, Denise runs into Gianni on the street. She's really happy to see him and asks for his help. Her happiness is short-lived. However, when she sees Phoebe close by and discovers that Gianni is heading to Europe with her, from him, she finds out that Adrian has already gone to the mountains. He, along with their whole group, is on the government's list. Denise is aware that she must run as well. The authorities are trying to eliminate anyone who doesn't submit to their regime. She is scared and runs to the bank. Along the way, another earthquake hits, but she continues on her journey. At the bank, a snobby employee tells her that Patrick was added to the list and was arrested that very morning. Not knowing what else to do, she turns to Tom for help again. She needs to get to the prison and try to get Patrick out. Before answering, Tom shares some of his own achievements. He's written 10 more poems for his book. Denise is not certain that this plan will be successful. She believes that the book will not be reaching people. Then Tom tells her his story. Not too long ago, when he heard of his brother's demise, he wished to do something terrible. He nearly killed himself. However, as he began to cut his wrists, he noticed 2 moons and felt that they were a sign of hope for the future. Those words resonate with Denise and her heart melts. A romance starts to develop between them. One day, Denise finds out that Andre is going to join the army. She thinks that she does not belong there and decides to go to the recruitment office. There she introduces herself as Xania and states that her acquaintance was kidnapped. He's handicapped, but her scheme goes awry when they ask for identification and she must rush off. Back at home, she finds a letter from Tom. He tells her he's leaving because he couldn't find any trace of Patrick or help him. Packing her bags, Denise leaves the house. Shortly after, she encounters Xenia and complains that Tom abandoned her, and she has yet to find Patrick. Xenia tells her about the difficulties, and recommends that they return to the apartment and begin to adjust to the system, suggesting that Denise begin to do so. Denise takes her advice and throws her books away without hesitation and promises to be normal. A group of people who are against the government camps in the mountains. Wes is among them. Looking up, they see a line forming in the sky. It grows higher and higher, soon covering the entire sky. Dennis tries to fit in with the system. She visits a luxurious home with Xenia and her friends. One of the parties, guests of the resistance appear, including Eduardo. Xenia recalls Kim and regrets that their relationship didn't work out. One of the girls asks Kim where he is now, and his sister says that he died in the army. Xenia, however, feigns deafness and offers to have everyone continue to enjoy themselves. Eduardo decides to join the conversation and mentions the strange things that are happening in the sky. Others, however, are adamant against the discussion of such matters. So he turns on the music and everyone except Xenia and Universe starts dancing. The scientist has a different strategy. He takes Phoebe to the balcony and speaks to her about the wall that is blocking the sky. Phoebe thinks it's being constructed to protect the people so they don't have to fear. In the meantime, Tom and Andre are hiding in the mountains. Andre says he found Dennis. She is dancing at some sort of party at the mansion, but Tom asks him not to touch her. Just then, a radio broadcast reports that the wall which will cover the entire sky will be completed in 1 month. While walking around the mansion grounds, Dennis runs into Tar. He's decided to leave. He's fed up with this fake world. That night, Dennis dreams of the resistance group, and in her dream, they tell her they're hiding in the mountains. On waking up, she finds them all in her room. Adrian tells her that they are the ones who didn't buy the lie. They are ready to fight the system, and invites her to join them to take back the sky. But Dennis refuses. She now works in an IT company, has begun her new life, and is attempting to be normal. She asks him to think about it carefully, and then she leaves with his group. The resistance meets back at the camp and decides on their next steps. One member proposes to arm themselves and attack the authorities when they see the military helicopters in the sky. He even has grenades, but Eduardo is against it. Then Dennis and Zeeble join the group, bringing supplies for the rebels. They saw 2 other girls at that time, Xenia and Phoebe. Panic spreads among the rebels. They know their time is coming to an end, but the girls reassure them, telling them that they have known about it for some time and have been silent. Xenia attempts to get Dennis and Zeeble home, thinking that they don't belong here. As they are leaving, Xenia sees Tom and decides to stay with him. She likes her time at camp, spending it with Tom and Andre. One day, ignoring Xenia's pleas, Phoebe and Zeeble officially join the resistance. Sometime later, Zeeble talks with Tar. He tells his tale when Eduardo was a professor at the university. Tar was a student. Before leaving, Eduardo told him about this place. Shortly after, Eduardo finds out that the camp has been discovered by soldiers. He decides to divert their attention by focusing on himself and leaves Tar to take care of them. The news reports on upcoming executions, which are scheduled to take place at 10 a.m. on Friday, and are open for all to attend. When he realizes that something must be done, Eduardo seeks the help and favor of Daniel. Several of his friends are among those to be executed and they must be saved, but the lieutenant will not help and he gives Eduardo 5 minutes to get out. Not believing his friend would betray him, Eduardo tries to leave, but before he can, Daniel gives the order and Eduardo is arrested. Dennis is watching the news at the camp. Eduardo is arrested and the TV reports that his arrest was helped by a rising star in the party, Diana Lewis. This news plunges Dennis into despair. Soon after, Adrian and Phoebe are arrested, betrayed by Benjamin, who was tempted by money. In the mountains, Andre tells Tom and Dennis that he had been drafted into the army. He sent a letter to his mother, and they found him. He's going to be serving. He's debating whether or not to serve, and Dennis and Tom fight over it. She thinks that Tom's art will not achieve anything. Thereafter, she chooses to leave and make her way to try to straighten her life out and live. Dennis goes to the bank to find out what happened to Patrick and discovers he was murdered. Dennis stumbles upon Xania in the wrecked streets. Xania says she received a letter from Dennis's aunt who sent a check so Dennis can start a new life in the countryside. With tears in her eyes, Xania tells Dennis that Kim died in the war and she hadn't known. Tom goes to the military camp to see Andre. The wall has completely shaded out the sun and sky outside, and Tom doesn't know why Andre wants to shoot other people. Tom still doesn't understand, and tries to push Andre away, but the soldiers block him and arrest Tom, and Andre explains that he's going to fight a war on the other side of the world, which will let him see the North Pole. Later, walking the streets, Dennis meets Patrick. She is ecstatic because she thought he was dead, but he tells her to leave before it's too late. Looking down at his shoes, Dennis notices he's wearing black boots. He's given up. Dennis, unsure of what to do, boards a taxi which drives her to the execution site. Meanwhile, the world is engulfed in war, cities are destroyed, children lose their parents, and adults die or get maimed. All of this is displayed on a giant screen. When Denise arrives at the execution site, she runs into Tom. He tells her that his book was torn apart and ignored, but he's determined to write another one. He still hopes that he will be able to open their eyes as soldiers take him away one day. Denise sobs in anguish, yelling at him that she no longer has any hope. Eduardo, Adriano, and Phoebe are taken out of the building. They are in a row facing the wall waiting to be shot. However, before the firing squad can execute their friends, the rebels show up and protect their friends. Daniel radios for assistance, but is hesitant to shoot at the others. Amidst the chaos, Wes sees a woman who is about to throw a grenade at the group. He takes it from her, but soon finds that there's nowhere safe to throw it. Without hesitation, he sacrifices himself to save the rest. Everyone is shocked by the explosion and the live execution is suddenly cut off. Having lost hope for a better life, Denise once again tries to slit her wrists, but T stops her, pointing to the wall. There's a government-controlled device mounted on it. Denise immediately runs over and disables it. In the next moment, the wall vanishes. The sky clears and color returns to the world. Everyone there witnesses an incredible sight. A pair of moons with a group of stars in the background. The following morning, Zeeble shows up in a van at the rebel camp. Everyone rushes into the car in relief. Tom helps Andre escape, but is captured by soldiers and dragged away. Seeing this, the rebels don't lose hope. They know that Tom will get free and catch up. They are driving down a quiet road through a blooming forest. For the first time in a long time, everything looks alive, vibrant, and full of color. Denise takes them out of the city, deciding not to simply survive, but to fight the system. Subscribe to watch more videos like this. Leave a comment about your favorite movie, and we will make it next. Thanks for watching.